Hey, this is Mike, and I'm going to be showing you in this video how to create a switch to lock and unlock your door that you've already made, and deactivate and activate lights in your level, as well as change the material for these meshes here, for the respective light color that's activated. So you can see I've added a mesh on this wall. It's actually a rocket pickup, but we're going to use this as our button, and it's totally superficial. We need to put a trigger there to make it work. I also have a sound actor there that we're going to target terminal sounds to when we actually use this switch, but we need an actor. We use a trigger volume for the door. For this, I'm just going to show you a regular trigger, and the event is going to be used. So I'll right click here, add actor, add trigger, and it's very large, as you can see. I'm going to shrink that down to a quarter. Try to put it right on that terminal. So we have our trigger actor now, and we're going to open up Kismet. And create a new event on used. So this isn't a touch event. We'll actually be activating the trigger by going up to it and hitting a button. So first I'm going to demonstrate how we can lock this door and prevent it from opening by toggling this trigger. So we're gonna add a new action and go down to toggle, and we just need a first option there, regular toggle, and on used we want to toggle, and I'm going to use a Boolean value for locked and unlocked, so just a simple true and false. Now in order to do that, we actually need to store that value somewhere, so we need to create a new variable. It's going to be a Boolean variable. Now false, it displays false as the default value, but it's dynamic, so don't get confused that it says false. It can be set to true or false by default, but in your level you'll be able to change that depending on how you set it up, so it's not always false. So you can see the Boolean connector is red, just like this variable that we made. So we're just going to connect that to this variable, and that's all we're going to need for toggle. So we can select hide unused connectors. We have a simple toggle. This will be just switching our Boolean value back and forth from locked and unlocked. So now we need to figure out how to incorporate this into our door, and the way I'm going to do it might seem a little complicated, but because we have sound playing, we need to make sure our sounds are not playing when the door is locked. So just sort of organize this a little bit, get that out of the way. So what we're going to need is we're going to use two compare booleans. I'm going to copy and paste that. I'm going to make one for the door untouched and one for the door trigger touched. So I'm going to break this untouched link and connect it to in on this comparison. I'm also going to send in my Boolean variable. Now when the trigger box is untouched, we always want this animation basically to play in reverse. Just so obviously if it's already stopped, it's not going to do anything. So the door is locked or unlocked. Put that there. And if the door is unlocked, if this variable is false, the door is not locked, then we're going to want to play an open sound. And that will be this sound, just to comment that. So I will drag that up there. Now for our other comparison Boolean, I'm going to break this connector as well. We're going to plug this into in and also send this Boolean value into the comparison. So when you touch that trigger volume and the door is locked, it's not going to do anything. So we don't need that parameter. If you touch the trigger value and the door is not locked, we want to play this animation. And we also want to play the open sound. I got confused. This needs to go to the close sound. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so we need to break this. We're going to plug, when the trigger box is not touched and the door is not, okay, excuse me. So we're going to plug this in to play for the close sound when you leave the trigger box and it's locked. And we can hide the unused actors here. And we should be good to go. So basically what's happening is if you touch the trigger volume and the door is whoops, we need to break this, hide unused, because we only need false for the door opening, because if it is locked and you touch the trigger box, nothing's going to happen. It's my mistake. So if you touch the trigger box and the door is unlocked, it's going to play this sound, play this animation. If you touch the trigger box and the door, if you leave the trigger box and the door is unlocked, it's going to obviously reverse the animation in both cases. But also if it's we need to break this and put it on false, because if the door is unlocked and you leave the trigger box, it's going to play the sound and play this animation. If the door is locked and you leave the trigger box, it'll still close just in case it's stuck open. Actually, we don't need that either. I think we're good if we just remove these. Sorry, this is complicated. So I think we're good set up to lock this door. Let's just test that out. See it opening. Now if we hit the switch, so now we need a way to check this Boolean for these touch and untouched conditions. So what we need to do is make a new condition that's a Boolean comparison. We need 2 of these, and we need to plug our toggling Boolean value into them. This will be the touch condition checker. This will be the untouched condition checker. True is the value for locked. So let's move here. We need to break some of these links. So I'm alt clicking on them to break them. So we'll start with opening the doors. Quite simple. For this, you just plug touched into in. That's the so we're checking what happens when the door is touched, and if the value is true, if the door is locked, we really don't need anything to happen. So all we really need to do is for the false condition, the unlocked, we want this animation to play, and we want the sound to play, and we don't need the true condition, so we can hide and use actors. I'm going to use this as my untouched checker. So if the door is unlocked and we leave the trigger box, we want this animation to play backwards, and we want to hear our sounds. And that should be all we need. Save this and check it. So now our door works. I'm gonna hit that. Looks like we got a problem. I'm going to want to set that value to infinite too, so it can trigger more than once. I don't think that's the issue. Oh yeah, right here, I want this animation to play in reverse once if the door is locked. So I need to expose that output. True is also going to go to reverse. That should do it. Okay, so I guess I missed it. Right now it's kind of hard to tell because there's no feedback when you activate it, so my issue was I just didn't hit it correctly. So if I hit that again, another thing I can do to make this a little easier on this trigger, the use trigger, is I select that and I'm gonna say no aim to interact. So as long as you're in that radius, that's you can see in the editor, even if you're not looking at it, you'll be able to activate it. So now we're going to add some visual indication of your door being locked and unlocked. We're going to also use announcements to display that you've locked or unlocked it, and we're going to switch on some lights and change some materials on these doors. So the first thing I'm going to do is quite simple. We're going to use we're going to activate some announcements, and we're going to use a switch for it. So we're going to just like a toggle, I'm going to show you how to use a switch to go in between an locked and unlocked message. So now this, we need to specify the link count. We need 2, and I'm going to plug this in here. We're going to add some announcements. So I'm going to go new action, voice / announcements, play announcement. So we're going to have a locked and unlocked announcement. Here I'm going to say This one will be unlocked. That'll be the second one because it starts unlocked, so the first action will lock it. Plug that in there, and that in there. Now at this point, when I hit that button, I can hit it as fast as I want, and the messages will display immediately, and it'll get kind of messy. So what I might do is just activate a little delay in between reactivation. I'll just put a second on both of them. If you right click on that box, that's what that'll do. So let's see if you get a display. There's our announcement. It's locked. Unlock announcement. That's working nice. You could add a little sound to that too. That might help. So I'm gonna just real quickly use sound. Oops. I'm gonna play sound. I'm going to open up the content browser. Let's find the pickup sound. That's a good sound. So we'll just select that one and apply it. And we'll play it in tandem. And we already have our sound target in the editor, so we'll just make a new object variable. Just target that so it plays from that terminal, and I'll hide everything we don't need. So now we got sound on too. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to turn lights on and off. You can already see I have two lights in this level. I've got a red one and a green one. They're basic point lights. They're dynamic, so they affect this door because the door is not as it's an actor, so the light will not affect the door unless it's set to dynamic. But for their properties, this one's obviously just set to green and it's enabled. And I have the red one disabled by default, so only the green one is on by default. And all I really need to do to switch between these lights is I'm going to make a toggle. And I'm going to plug used into toggle here. And I just need to make targets for these lights, so a new object variable for the green light and the red light. Don't need anything else in here, so let's just test that out. So now that the door is locked, the light changes to red and I can't get through. And also, you know, there's no sound effects when I'm leaving or entering the box, so that's good. Also, we have our sound playing on the switch, and light changes back to green like we want. And we can get through. Now, obviously, this looks kind of weird because we have our light sources aren't really changing. They're sort of, this fluorescent light is kind of bright by default. The door's a little dull, but what we need to do is make these materials change, and what we're going to do is animate them. So I'm going to save. To change these materials, we need to create new instances of them. So I'm going to right click this. Actually, I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to find its material. Okay, actually, I'm going to find the browser. So that's my mesh. So it's a fluorescent light. I'm just going to search for that in materials. So we've got our light material. What we need to do to animate this is make a new instance constant of it. And I'm going to put it in the level package itself. Keep everything the same. And make a new package for it. So now that we have this material open, it's our instance constant. Oops, we can see we've got some parameters we can play with here. There's a vector parameter called light color. We can change the default value of that. I'm just going to make it bright green, so it's very obvious. Everything else can be 0. So we gotta now we need to apply that to our mesh by double clicking on it. You see it in the viewport. There we go, now it's applied. So it's green by default. I'm going to do that quickly for the door as well. Find this in the browser. Let's find the door material. Just select all these packages. This is our door material that we need, so we're going to make an instance constant of that. Now, this door also has a light color parameter. It's a vector parameter. I'm going to make it green by default as well. So we're going to, whoops, 0, 255, 0 for green, for blue. That's going to be our default value for that door. And then exit out of that. And apply that material to this mesh. So let's just select it in the content browser. So now this door is green by default as well. Save. So now what we need to do is get this material to go from green to red to indicate that it's locked. And we changed it to green just by using values for red, green, and blue, vector parameter values. And we can animate those values in Matinee. So I'm going to make another switch. Plugged used in the in. We're going to need 2 links, and I'm going to use Matinee to animate. these values. There's one thing we're missing though, and they're called material instance actors. We can't interact with these materials as they're applied to the meshes. We need to make actors and link them. So we have to go to our content browser, and actors, and it happens to be under uncategorized. It's a material instance actor. I'm going to add one for this fluorescent light. It's gigantic. And one for this door. Now all we need to do is apply our materials to these actors as well. So this material instance, I'm going to use my browser selection, apply to that material instance actor, which is the fluorescent light, and this one will be the one for the door. And so those are applied. Now we're ready to use Matinee to animate. So I'm going to select one of them and select New Matinee. I'm going to double click this. I need a new group. I'm going to name it Light Switch. Now I'm going to right click on our group while our material instance actor is selected, and we're going to select Add New Vector Material Parameter Track. We're going to click this box so we can see our curves in our curve editor, and we're going to keyframe. You're going to want this to be a very quick animation. So probably 1/10 of a second should be more than long enough. Zoom out a little bit. So we're going to put a keyframe here. It's essentially green. Oops. Needs to be at 0. Keyframe by hitting enter, and then at 1/10 of a second, what we're going to do, I'm going to turn all my channels off but green. And we're going to add a key at 1/10 of a second. And for green, we want the value to be 0. So it is. Obviously we want it to start at its maximum value, 255. Put that all in view. I use this button, it's called Fit All, so I can see the whole curve. It orients it, changes the ratio. And now I'm going to deselect that. We're not going to do anything to the blue curve. We're just going to edit this red curve, and it's going to start at 0 and end at 255. Now we're scrubbing, and we can see it's not really changing anything in the editor yet, and it's because we're missing our parameter name. We need to specify. So if we open our browser back up, click on one of these materials, both of them, you can see that their parameter, their vector parameter, is light color, and this one is also light color. So when we specify that in Matinee, now we can see our animation play. So I'm going to close that out then. It'll save on its own. And you can see we're only animating this tube right now. And Matinee on its own made a target. Which is our material instance actor at the top for that light. I'm going to make another target for our door and plug that in. And now it changes them both. It's really convenient. All the while switching the lights. So we're going to save that and see what we have. So it looks like we have an issue. Obviously we forgot to plug in our links. So we want link 1 to play that from green to red, which will be locking it, and link 2 to reverse it. And we can unhide all this, or hide all of it, and we'll save, and we'll try that again. So the door works. And there goes our toggle. Changing the light. Now it's not toggling back, so let's see what that issue is. Okay, so the animation is taking a very long time to play. An easy way to fix that, we'll just go into Matinee here. Make that play at a very quick rate. Also, when our switch is to loop, so they always go back. So just make sure. Okay. Still a little bit of a delay. Going back. But essentially, we have it working. So we're going to try to fix that delay. It seems like it's an animation issue. What we had is we had our total playtime extended a little bit beyond, so it was playing through and taking a little time to loop back to green. So we're just going to clamp that right there so it can't go beyond the keyframe. Play that. Now we're switching back instantly. That concludes the switch part of the tutorial. You can see a zoomed out map here. It's a little bit disorganized, but you might want to select all of your nodes and hide them, unused ones, unused connectors. These are already hidden, and so they're only connected by this variable, the light tree in the door. So that concludes this part of the tutorial, and the next video will show you how to make movers. Thank you.